Hi, it's Chris Fletcher from musicbizmentors.com, and welcome to Making Money, Making Music podcast. So today we're talking to a duo from Portland called Fox and Bones, and I wanted to do a little bio on them before they come on. Fox and Bones is energetic, offbeat folksters with retro pop rock band who have been setting the world alight with hand clapping, foot stomping good times since 2016. At Fox and Bones core is an unrelated backbone that represents honest to good folklore dreams wrapped up with the electrical shine of the duo with a combined of 25 plus years of songwriting experience. Scott's powerhouse grit and Sarah's resonant tone combined with A-grade songwriting chops to create accessible, relatable, and often heart-rending folk rock music. Their hard-working artistic output has earned them first place at the 2023 Tucson Folk Festival Songwriting Contest and second place in the International Acoustic Music Awards, amongst many other accolades. Please welcome Sarah and Scott, Fox and Bones. You've been a duo since 2016, right?
Yes, yeah, we formed in 2016. I did a little light stalking at one of Sarah's shows. She was performing solo at the time, and we just clicked. We hit it off. We wrote a few songs, and that's how Fox and Bones was formed.
Yeah, yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about your music training?
Yeah, my music training is light. I had my mom would teach me the Ninja Turtles and X-Men theme song on the piano, which was that was the most of my studies as a young kid. Would be kind of just playing around at the house piano, and I tried to start playing guitar when I was, I think, 10, but just couldn't get it down, and so it came back around when I was 17 or 18 or so, and then I spent the next 6 years just playing every single day. And I took a few music classes at the University of Oregon, but most of it was training from just playing. Just I'd hear a song that I wanted to learn, I'd look up the tab and learn it, and then that's how I'd learn each new chord and each new song and go from there.
Yeah, that's cool. Some of the musicians I've worked with for a long time have been that way. You know,
Hmm.
didn't really do any like constant the training kind of thing, but kind of you pick it up on the way. And
Yep.
I mean, even at school, they teach improv and stuff like that, but I think a lot of that's innate. I think that's something that musicians have, and you can try to teach some of it, but it's creativity kind of thing. And I could be wrong, but I just kind of feel that way. I've been around a lot of musicians, and I feel like that comes natural to people. I mean, even when you're playing a lot, I'm sure you guys improv all the time when you have long sets and things like that. And having a partner is great because when you get to know them so well, you really kind of know what the other one's coming in for and stuff like that. Because I have a couple people I know that do that too. They've been playing forever together, and they just kind of like know, that kind of stuff. And that's not easy to form, you know.
No, it takes time with all that, and especially because it's not, when you're performing, it's not necessarily just playing the music, but it's also how you're interacting with the crowd and the stories you're telling. And especially for us as folk artists, there's a lot of storytelling and a lot of interacting with the audience. And so
Yeah,
those kind of bits that come back from touring for 5 or 6 years together, and that the way that you interact, and the that comes from repetition. It comes from failure, to be honest. It comes from like failing or having a story not work, or having a chord sound off, or having a song fall apart, and learning from that, and then coming back to that song or that story and making it better, and learning from that, and little by little building your set and building all of your bits and all of your interactions with the crowd one show at a time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it takes a long time to do that. People don't realize it. I see somebody and they say, "Oh, I want to go out on the road," and I'm going, How long can you play?" And they're like, "Oh, I can play like 40 minutes." I'm like, "Okay, well, I think you need to keep trying. It takes a long time and mixing it up the set and just performing in front of people. You
Hmm.
know, you know how to read the crowd and all that kind of stuff. I always tell people, go perform for 6 months, then come back to me.
Yep.
Because it just takes a long time with that. So, but you guys have been on the road all the time, right? So how do you handle the road? I mean, like you said, we're preparing before we go, right? So are there
Yeah.
certain things that
Mhm.
you do before you jump off and do a long tour like you're doing?
Yeah, I think number one is I think we both ISO a little bit, or no, I isolate a little bit before the road. I make sure because I can oftentimes be a little less personable on the road if I haven't gotten enough rest or haven't gotten enough of alone time. And so I'll leading up to a tour, I'll make sure that I've had enough solo time on my own. I'm mentally prepared. So I guess number one is like prepare yourself mentally because when you're out, it's all interactions, it's all energy going out, especially shows where every show, even if there's one person there, if there's 100, if there's 1,000, you want to play your best show. I think a trap that oftentimes it can be easy to fall into is that, oh, there was only two people came to the show, so I'm not going to show up as my best self. And those are always the shows that at the end of it, if I didn't show up, that I feel like I've let the audience down, even if it's just one or two people. And so um, you want to make sure that you have enough energy to be your best self at every show along the road, regardless of audience. So self care, number one, make sure you're ready to show up on the road. I'd say number two is make sure you're prepared for things going well, and in that way, I'd say like bring all of as much merch as you can fit in the car, because who knows, maybe you'll only sell a CD for in the first 3 weeks, or maybe you'll have 20 people who want to buy a CD, and you want as a musician and a business person out on the road, you want to be prepared to be able to be prepared to be successful, even if the first tour or the second tour or whatever tour you're on is or is not. And so, yeah, uh, self care, uh, prepare yourself, be prepared for success. Those are the two first steps I think I'd recommend for new touring artists and frequent touring artists too.
Yeah. So, but because are you taking care of all your touring still?
So we have a booking agent now, which is wonderful and makes things so much easier on our end because they'll advance shows and they'll help negotiate better deals. Which I think when we started off, we just go anywhere. Like we made a map of people we knew everywhere in the U.S., like people who had a house, and so like okay, we're going to tour to places we know people who have beds. It was a bed tour. It's because hotels are the most expensive thing these days, so if you're making $50 and spending 200 on a hotel, it's not going to work long term. So we based our tours around where we could sleep for free, and doing that, gave us a whole lot more room for overhead, a lot of room to take chances on different venues, to play shows that maybe wouldn't be as lucrative because as footholds into new markets. Um, but now, well, we've put the time in and now have someone to help with all that, which does make things a little bit easier.
But I bet you're still booking things in between, aren't you?
Oh yeah, and I think one thing that you do need to make it in music is you have to just be willing to put in the time and the work, because it's work on the back end in booking, and then it's work on the front end in performing. And if you're willing to play all the shows that feel good, like emotionally or monetarily, and you're willing to put in the time cold emailing people and cold emailing venues and putting together house shows, I think that then you'll be able to make it in the industry. So if you don't get it, don't give up. That's the I think it's very difficult to defeat someone who never gives up. And so I think you kind of need that in this industry to if you want a tough way to make an easy living, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I had a guy that when he graduated from school, he goes, "I'm going to do this full time. I don't care. It's my job, that kind of stuff." And then he'd come in and talk to me. He goes, "Oh, I did this and this, and nobody got back to me." I say, "Welcome to my world,"
Yep.
you know. And I say, "It's you got to remember, it's a numbers game. Just remember,
Yep.
it's a numbers game. The more you put out, you really want to play that venue. You tried everything. They didn't get back to you. Put it on the list for next time. You know that kind of
Hmm.
stuff." I said, and yeah, I mean there's somebody said one day, "Oh, well, everybody gets back to you." And I said, "No, they don't. You know, no, they're on a list somewhere.
Hmm.
Hopefully get back to them sometime." I sometimes I get pretty determined when I can't find somebody.
Yeah.
I like, okay, wait a minute. You don't want me to know.
Yeah, they're there
Right?
somewhere. Yeah, they're out
So
there.
you go to LinkedIn and you go to the Facebook pages and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you just got to give up. I frequently put like for some of my artists like 2 week, 2, 3 week tours together kind of stuff. I said I contact like 150 venues.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like 100. I'm trying to get 1 gig a day if I can. And then if we can't, then find some kind of promotional thing that's worth it to us. You know,
Hmm.
I had one band that we had them, they were up in Portland. They did the Music Millennium on
Oh
a
yeah.
Monday, and then they went to do the Goodfoot for because they had the open mic, they had the soloists in the front, and they had bands after 9 o'clock.
Oh,
And so
fun.
I had them do it like in a row because they're only 10 minutes apart. And they called me after the record company, the radio record store show, and said, "Do we have to go to this open mic night?" I said, "Yes,
Yes.
yes."
This is the
And so
work.
they went. They met so many musicians there. Like one guy found them place to stay at for free, and
Yeah.
helped him get booked the next time he went up there, and they sold a bunch of merch. And I said, they go, we want to go back to that. So remember, you were fighting me on that.
Hmm.
There's a reason why I just don't like pick an open mic night to put you there. I kind of did a lot of why should I do that one, that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. So yeah, and I had another band that came back when they were starting to make some money. Then like, oh, we don't want to do the little gigs anymore. And
Hmm.
I'm like, but you paid for your whole trip with that.
Yeah.
And then that's why we have money when you come back. You hear all the bands that come back and have no money? You have
Because
money.
you're working. Yeah, you're putting the work in
And I
there.
said, wait a minute, there's 20 people. There's 20 people in the room. I said, then you should know all their names then. Have a beer with them. Those 20 people are very important because if they like you and they all bring one person, there's 40 people in the room next time. Like, this
Hmm.
isn't brain surgery. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I feel like that you're always putting out music. That means you're always writing, right? So, do you find that you can write on the road, or are there just when you come home is when you kind of do all your writing?
I think we've evolved or changed a little bit with that because we used to ride on the road a good amount. I remember, we have so much free time in between shows, so finding, we'd have just be an empty house in Phoenix, Arizona, and we'd write a song or we'd work together on that. But recently, we've started working with the producer, Greg Holden, who's a wonderful, wonderful producer that has helped us really refine our sound and our songwriting style. And so it feels these days that Fox and Bones is kind of a trio with him at the helm of the songwriting. And so on the road, we'll write if we have the energy, we'll write something. But most of since we write and record with Greg, most of our studio songs we just save. Like, well, if we have an idea or we have something, like we'll write it down or video record it and or voice memo it. But we save a lot of our creativity for when we're in the studio writing on the fly, and that's when we're all three together, and because we have such differing opinions. And so by being all in one room and having us stand up for our own work and being able to be flexible and creative together, I think is what we've landed on as the best path for whatever art this is that we're doing.
How did you connect with your producer?
It was a little bit of in the same way of, like, bands saying not wanting to do the little gigs or doing the little things that we had been in the same kind of situation for a little bit, and Sarah was saying we need to evolve, we need to change, we need to grow, we need our music to build into something. And I was being a little stubborn, being like, we don't, this is great, we don't need to grow, we can just, this is our music is what it is. And I was
Mhm.
incorrect in that situation, and I probably knew it. But she spearheaded it, and we had a recommendation from a good fan and producer uh in California to reach out to new Portland resident, Greg Holden, who's a wonderful songwriter who had just moved to Portland. And so Sarah just cold emailed him and just asked if, do you need an opener or do you need anything? And he said he's not planning to go on the road, but he is producing music. And so we met up, and it just turned out that we were a great fit together. And he pushed Sarah and I to work more as a team instead of as as songwriting rivals, which perhaps we had been for a little bit. And the new material just was really blossomed because we're all working together now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really a good thing when you kind of connect up with somebody that makes you all creative with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's not it's hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize, any of that stuff. People are like, I need a producer. I'm like, okay, have you tried to do it
Yeah.
yourself? You know,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And so, but yeah, I mean, and there's so many people out here that says that tell me I'm a producer,
Hmm.
and that when I ask them, I always go, what does that mean to you?
Hmm.
And they go, oh, I make beats. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so wait a minute. Beats and words means you're a
Hmm.
songwriter.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then I said, oh, but I put all production together. I said, and now you're a producer.
Yep.
So that word producer has changed. Um,
Yeah, I think it's especially just with some with like the rise of electronic music and I think it's the umbrella has widened, so it can mean a whole bunch of different things. I know in our situation, just having someone that helps us create, and that's the thing. And then he also puts together a lot of what's nice about the process is that we show up, he'll be kind of fiddling around with some piano stuff on a track. We'll start writing some words, he'll add some guitars to it, then he'll come back, he'll like challenge all of our songwriting lyrical ideas, which is good as an artist to have some pushback. You're not
mhm.
just running rampant and you have to actually think about what you're writing and what you're saying and why you're saying it. And then by the end of the day, we'll have a song that's, nearly ready to go to mixing. And so the process from spark to the final idea is so much more accessible than it has been in the past, where it would take days or weeks or months. And now it's like we can have a song in a day or two. And that feels really exciting for me because it keeps the energy and keeps the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, I think that's cool. So how many you're putting out EPs, singles? What are you doing now?
So these days we have a new album that's coming out May 17th, which is exciting, called Long Time Honey, which are all songs that were recorded and produced by Greg in his home studio. And the lead up is we'll do, we're getting to our fifth single, and at fifth out of I think we might end up with six singles on a 10-song record. So at this point we're putting out, more than half of the record as singles because it's the global music consciousness moves so quick that you just got to have some new thing every month to keep people's attention. And so we're our fifth single Tricks is coming out March 8th, and then the full album, we'll be touring on the album here, heading out in 2 weeks or so to sell the album and hopefully recoup all the recording costs on the road.
So are you making CDs? Are you doing flash drives? What are you doing?
So we have CDs and we're doing vinyl, but we've ordered a considerable amount less of CDs than in the past. We used to, I think there's still thousands of CDs of older records that are just stored in our shelves. We have noticed that vinyls and CDs sell about the same these days out on the road, and so we've ordered the same amount, and I have a suspicion that we're going to sell out a vinyl first. So it's good to have something to sell from the music end, but the impact of Spotify and of streaming services we're definitely feeling that on the road. And so you have to be creative in your merch. So we have necklaces and shot glasses and koozies and beanies and shirts. And so you just have to meet people where they are with what they want to purchase out on the road.
And that's a lot of merch to take and set
Yes.
up and keep track of and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. I think some people now are doing, especially with certain kinds of merch and stuff like that, like especially with t-shirts, what sizes do you get, stuff like that, is that they're
Hmm.
bringing certain sizes and then they're working with a print on demand company where people can order right there in front of you.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
they can just do, here's a QR code, do it now, and then it gets to their home kind of thing.
And you could customize it more that way too.
And they can, if you don't do mugs, they could still get a mug from them, and you're
Yeah.
not making
Hmm.
as much money, but you're not losing the sale. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Sarah has been wanting us to print sweatshirts for a while, which I think would be great, and especially in colder weather. But then, how many sweatshirts do we have to carry 50 sweatshirts on the road for a 2 month tour? And where do we fit that? We can barely fit our own clothes in our tour vehicle. How do we fit an additional 50 sweatshirts? And so,
Yeah, it's tough with that kind of stuff.
hmm.
But I mean, there is a lot of money to be made there.
Hmm.
I've actually had some people also, instead of putting their logo on it, is they're putting their song titles on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or a lyric or a little something that's just like a
People
cute thing that could add
want
to
to
it.
wear that, and then you put your
Hmm.
logo somewhere underneath it or something like that. I had a band that had a song out called Trouble, and I go, can't you
Hmm.
see that on a t-shirt?
Oh yeah.
you know
Hmm. Yep.
People want
That's
to,
yep.
I'm trouble, kind of thing.
Yep.
So people are trying, I mean, because you want to make sure people are buying it. So
Hmm.
it just takes, they don't, also people don't realize how long it takes for you to like decide whether it's colors or fonts and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot to
Hmm.
take on. But if you're going out on the road, you've got, even if you don't have a lot of merch, I had a couple people that's just started going out, and they didn't have, they had 5 song EP, and I said, well, go,
Hmm.
we can get a 5 song EP printed for like $2, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And I said, and so I said, I want you to sell it for $5 or a donation.
Yep.
And people
Hmm.
always give you more money because they're still going to download the songs.
Yeah, they want to support. If they're
It's
at the
just a
merch
way to,
booth, you've already
yeah.
got them. Like
They
if they're
want
at
you
the
to
booth.
sign it or something
Hmm.
like that, if it's say it's a limited run or something like that, and I just said, we were like, oh, nobody buys CDs anymore. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
in 2 days, I sold $500 worth of EPs.
Yeah,
Guess what? Yes, they do.
they're collector's items. They don't have to be a CD player. They're collector's items these
It's
days.
a
It's a
merch.
memory. Yeah.
It's
And
a merch item now.
hmm
Have you guys ever recorded and sold like a live show?
I think there's been talk about it, but it hasn't quite come up yet. I think it's we're figuring out how to do it in a way that we'd appreciate, because most of our shows are duo shows, but we've been
Mhm.
playing more full band shows, and so figuring out what that would look like, I think is something we've been. I know Sarah's been interested in it, but figuring out what venue that would be, or how how we package that and promote it, I think has
Yeah.
been something we've been in talks with for a while, because that's an immediate, if you that's a new record right away and you could release it and then that bumps your streaming numbers. And so I think that's a great idea.
And we were just talking about this one of my other musicians about. I think we did pretty good during COVID, right?
Yeah.
But nobody expected everything to shut down as long as it did.
Yeah, no, you were correct. We were just talking about this the other day. We were in the middle of a 4 month tour. We were in San Diego, on our way to San Diego, California. We had a tour scheduled going all the way as far east as Mississippi and up to New York, and we came home and we're like, all right, we'll just pick it up in Texas. And then it was like, okay, we'll just pick up the tour in Georgia. It's like, okay, we'll just pick it up here in Mississippi, and went all the way through pretty much our whole tour until like, all right, I guess we'll just pick it up next year or we'll pick it up whenever, but we're just watching those dates all kind of cascade into cancellations
Yeah.
one by one. And
So, how did you guys survive that? Since you're
uh
live,
yeah.
all the stuff you do, you writing a lot, what were you
Hmm.
doing?
We were creative with it. I think a lot of musicians had the live streaming that worked for a while, but there were diminishing returns. I think we made a month's salary on the first one, and then half a month's, and then a quarter month, and then so because I think people at first wanted music, wanted to see live music, but then it maybe just felt like another screen, or like the connection of it or the excitement of it was gone.
Yeah.
Sarah is a pretty crafty businesswoman, and so we started our custom song, which was people would hire us to write songs from, and so we wrote a few, we'd do interviews and get all the info from them, and then write a custom song for the holidays. And so that's something that kept us going. And then we do songrams, so people could pick a cover and pay us a certain amount. We'd cover that song and then send them the video. And so we found different ways to get by, but our overhead surprisingly was the lowest it's ever been, because we weren't on the road, we weren't paying for hotels, we weren't. So we actually got out of debt during the pandemic. So we finally had a chance to rest, and it was quite a crazy time, but it centered us in a way that we hadn't been in a while, playing 200 shows a year on the road. And we were essentially just on the road. We didn't have homes. We just would tour, and to all those houses we'd set up all over the country, and just
Right.
keep playing shows, and then come back and sleep on someone's couch for 3 weeks at home, and then go back out for another couple months. And so it actually centered us for the first time in a while, which, so
Yeah.
silver linings
Yes,
of a
exactly.
troubling time.
Yes, I mean, and we didn't expect it to last that long, with those
Mm.
kind of things. And yeah, and I know it really affected my friend. I know he's on the road all the time. After he said I learned Pro Tools and I was doing sessions for people, on
Hmm.
Zoom and all that kind of stuff. And they said, but now I'm supposed to go out for like 3 months with somebody. He goes,
Hmm.
I don't know if I want to go out 3 months again.
A long time. Yeah, it's a
And he
long time
said,
to be out. Hmm.
it's just that now if I think I can make some money at home, now I'm saying to myself, should I really go?
Yeah.
Is it that I really that I enjoy it that much, or what is you gotta fight with all that kind of stuff now, because people have learned how to do some stuff. I mean, not that, I mean, there's a way to make money on the streaming and stuff like that. That's a job in itself with that kind of stuff. But that stuff keeps changing. All
Hmm.
that stuff keeps changing. I just heard yesterday from one of the marketing guys that I know that Universal pulled all of their artists off of TikTok.
Yep. Hmm.
And people were like, "Oh, that's not good for the artists." I said, "Well, guess what?
Hmm.
They moved to one of the other networks, and guess what? They still got people following them, that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Hmm.
But this stuff happens all the time with this social media stuff, and it keeps changing. And what do I do? And so I always tell the independent people, I said, just do what's comfortable for you. Pick whatever
Hmm.
network you want. If you're not
Yep.
a TikTok person to put videos up all the time, then just once in a while do it. Pick
Hmm.
one that you like. If you're not sure what to do, then do a Facebook page. I
Hmm.
said every venue has a Facebook page, so hey, why not? That kind of
Yep.
stuff. Just be consistent with it. You
Hmm.
know, my artist Harold, he does a 2 Song Tuesday.
Oh, fun.
He's been
Hmm.
doing it since the pandemic. He just did his 187th one.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's great.
So
Hmm.
no matter where he is in the world, at 5:30 California time, he comes on for 20 minutes. He does
Oh,
two,
fun.
two songs, two stories, and the improv. He does a cover song and tells a story
Hmm.
about the band or where he found it and all kind of stuff. He does one for himself, and
Hmm.
then um, the whoever's on sends song titles, and I text it to him, and he chooses one and makes up a song on the spot.
Oh, how fun.
So when he's on, we have somewhere between 60 and 90 people watching, and like
Yeah.
5:30 on a Tuesday is a weird time,
Hmm.
but it's on Facebook so they can go back and watch it again. Within a week's time, we have close to 2,000 people who view it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's
that
great.
tells
What a
you
great
that
idea.
do you have a favorite kind of venue you guys play at?
Uh, I love a listening room. I think we've done our fair share of corner bar gigs where the game is on or whatever. Um, over the years, Sarah and I have played over 1,000 shows together, and I think I love the listening room where people show up to listen because I think that's when we're at our best. That's when
Mm.
all the stories from the road come out. That's when the mutual exchange of energy uh is there. I think Sarah, my writing partner, would say we just played a show in Portland here at the Crystal Ballroom for a folk festival, and I think that's probably her favorite. Is the rock and roll. She was down. Did a slide on the stage, was doing jumping jacks and all that. And
Right.
I think that is probably more her personality,
Uh-huh.
and which is why we're a good team too, because she's the rah rah band cheerleader, and I just want to say my quiet songs and silly stories. So,
Yeah.
but somewhere in the middle of that, I think is a nice balance, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, because I saw that this year, because I actually looked up the Portland Folk Festival
Yeah.
because I'm working with a girl that used to live in the Portland area and moved to Nashville in the
Oh,
past
fun.
year or
Hmm.
so, but she comes back every
Hmm.
couple months, a couple times a year and stuff like that. So I was like, because she's singer songwriter, folk kind of genre kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was looking at folk festivals, and I went Portland Folk Festivals, and I saw you guys, and I saw you like connected to it, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of you kind of organized all that, right?
That's our baby. We started it in 2018 as a way to keep all of our friends together because we couldn't see any of our friends' shows because we were all playing music so much. And so like, well, what's the one way to get a bunch of musicians together? It's just book them. So we booked all our friends to play, and spent one full day together, and it over 3 years went from 125 people at White Eagle to Mission Theater, which is a 300 cap, and then they just kind of tossed us up to Crystal Ballroom, which is 1400 cap, and we've been figuring it out ever since. So
Yeah,
just figuring out how do we, what can we do with this space? How do we create an event that is beneficial for the community, but also a lot of fun for the performers? And there's been ups and downs with it, but it is something that we love to do. And so every
yeah.
January. Yeah.
Planning an event like that, because I've planned events with people that way, and I end up like in
Mhm.
charge, like, oh, I should have never done
Yep.
this, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's just so much that
Hmm.
has to do with it, from the security to the tickets to then people, the band members, and I mean, sound, all that kind of stuff. Um, did you dabble into looking for sponsors?
We every year we give it a shot, look for sponsors. We've had some good ones over the years. And Breed Love was on there for a few years. Jim Beam has been on there for,
Hey,
and then a lot of local sponsors that we work with, and recently Music Portland, which is a wonderful organization that kind of fights for musicians here in Portland. Is We've worked with them, and a couple different alcohol brands, and then we also work with All Good Northwest, which is a local charity that deals with families and individuals dealing with temporary houselessness, and helps community outreach, and sets up cold or warm shelters during cold times. So
wow, that's great.
we're always looking for more, always looking for more sponsors and
I
more
was just
people to work
I
with.
was just thinking, because like every state has a arts council.
Oh, really?
Like
Okay.
they give grants and stuff like that. You guys
Yeah.
want to, whatever's local, in the Oregon area. There's got to be an Oregon one,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Definitely.
And every
Definitely.
year they give towards new events that are happening and all that kind of stuff. And you could get quite a bit of money to like
Hmm.
feel like, oh, we're good. I don't have to worry about
Yes.
what's coming in, or the tickets, or all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So I've done a lot of sponsorships and endorsement stuff. So
Hmm.
if you need help, give me a call.
Oh, I do. I do. We need so much help. Yeah,
Yeah,
all the time.
I think that's a great thing. And there's even, like, I even just saw today, yesterday, because I have this newsletter that comes to me called Score. A
Hmm.
friend has been putting that together for a long time, and so I read it every week. And it came in and it said that Gibson was having an unsigned highlight showcase thing that
Oh,
they're doing.
fun.
And this is where you go to send your stuff. And then the last line was, they're competing against Fender, who's also doing it.
Oh, all right.
I'll
Okay.
email you that. So
Yeah,
it's,
please do.
kind of, I mean, it's highlighting, it's them putting you online, and as their feature person and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Have
So
fun.
that's really unusual for Gibson and Fender to do that,
Yeah.
with that kind of stuff. So I'm always trying to find little things like that. And even it was, I found somebody, because I'm on newsletters and stuff. Somebody sent something to us about a Verizon has a digital musician grant or something like that, and so they give twice a year, they give $10,000 grants out to people who have, who are doing good things in the world, kind of,
Yeah.
and you just fill your information out. They give out 100 a year.
Woo. All right. That's
So
great.
I'll send you that when I see it. I'll send
Please
it to you
do
guys.
all those links. Yeah.
He said, and you can't make us like you more, because they give it to all kinds. Doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing and what you've done so far, and they'll look at your website
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And they said, if you don't get it this time, sign up again.
Yeah, exactly. Keep trying.
So you've been doing the folk festival for 2 years?
Since 2018. So
Right.
we had a couple years off, of course, but we'll be entering our sixth actual event, and I think eighth or seventh year, maybe in years. So,
Wow.
but
So
that we just got done with that. So
right.
that's a big relief
Do
after
you
a good
start in
amount
the
of time.
summer again? Like planning all that stuff,
I've
summer?
already started booking
Yeah.
artists for next year, because it's just, we want to work with
Like,
the people that our headliners have are working about booking about a year out. And so you get the headliners in, and then we set up. We try to do as local as possible, so
Yeah,
as many local Portland bands as we can, in addition to the headliners, and that gives our community a chance to play with some national touring acts, and
yeah.
and then but then we still have like our local community first focus.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I was just so I was like, wait a minute, that's Scott is in charge of that. You know, I was like, oh, it's from all the booking stuff he's done. You know,
Oh
now
yeah,
he's moving
it's
into the position where I have a venue kind of thing. You know,
yep.
but it's a whole different ball game when you do that. There's a whole lot. You thought you had details before. You
Oh
know.
my. Yeah, I've been learning about the back end of all sorts. It's interesting, the industry as a whole, once you start working with talent buyers and managers, and it's a whole new set of info that and new it's a whole new game. And so it's been exciting to use all the skills sets that we've developed from being on the road and from booking our own tours, and now be able to interact and bring them to a different level of the industry.
Yeah. And so let's see. So what's next for you guys? You know, you're always planning ahead. I know you're touring more. Oh, I want first want to ask you about Europe because I've
Hmm.
seen you've gone to Europe a few times.
Yeah.
How did that? Did you can just connect up with somebody at a festival and you kind of started that way?
So we were very lucky to meet someone named Dominic Schmidt in our early tenure as a band, well, maybe like 6 to 8 months in, when Sarah and I were playing together. I'd
Hmm.
known Dominic for a while, but he has a company called Rolla Music, who books. Uh, at the time, I think it was mainly Germany and Austria. He is an Austrian, and so he has a team. He's a booking team and a PR team, and they were, I think, within their first 5 years of a booking company then. And so we met up with him at a coffee house, and kind of expressed that we're willing to work as much as he'd put us to work, and he brought us out there for 3 weeks, and we over the our career we've been 5 times on 5 tours, and upwards of two months just driving and playing, um and we haven't been back in a year or so, just because it's been, it can be quite exhausting, I think. And you'd spoke earlier of an artist who, if they can make money close to home, then why not? And so I think we've been biding our time before we return, just because it is an extra layer of exhaustion, having a language barrier, and then you're renting a car, and you're renting flights, and but it's working with Roller Music was probably the thing that codified us as a band, because we were like, okay, we can do this as a career. We're out here living in a different country, playing music, making a couple bucks, and yeah, that definitely brought us together, and gave us the baseline, the confidence to keep moving forward.
Are the audiences different?
They are and they aren't, in an interesting way. Our first tour, we were very nervous, and so we kind of got thrown a kilter a little bit. We didn't know how to act or what to say, because it is I'd say most people can, they teach, especially in Western Germany, teach English as a second language, and so most people you can interact with. But it wasn't until we realized, well, we can still tell our stories, just slow down, a little bit, and be more demonstrative when you're expressing things, because I think the vocal uh, performances of like how jokes, like how you express humor, express jokes, still land. So even if not necessarily the stories are always syncing up, like the way that you perform them can intonate how an audience can react. And once you get a couple people laughing, then it's easier to get the whole audience laughing and joining in. And so once we settled into who we were as performers, then the shows got easier. They're a little more attentive, definitely more attentive in Germany, more sitting and listening politely, which works great for us. And then Austria would get a little bit more rowdy, and then uh, yeah. So I think it's just all settling into yourself as a performer on the road.
Yeah, yeah. So what kind of vehicle do you drive for your touring? I was
Well, we
curious.
used to be in Sarah's Volvo sedan for quite a long time. We ran that car right into the road, and we bought a Toyota RAV4. So these days we have a hybrid RAV4, so it's good gas mileage, a little extra room, We have the phone charger in the car, which helped because there are certain times, we're pretty dependent on technology where the phone would be about to die, and that's where the address was, and so we had 15 minutes to get to the house, or we wouldn't be able to get to our gig or whatever it was, and so
Right.
now we're traveling in relative comfort, and so yeah, I don't know what we'd do without all the technology that we travel with these days, but
Yeah, that's really important,
mhm,
'cause there's lots of miles in between a lot of gigs when you're doing that kind of
mhm.
stuff.
Oh yeah,
So what's next? What's the goal for
yeah.
next year? I asked the question to some people because they're like all freaking out, like everything sounds like I have to be doing it now. I said, you're indie. You can do whatever you
Hmm.
want.
Yeah.
I said, my question is, where do you want to be this time next year? What do you want
Hmm.
to achieve? That's all I'm asking. How many? Just how many people? Do you want to have a song in a movie? Do you want to
Hmm.
put another album out? That will dictate what you do right now.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what do you
Having a
guys next? I know you're going out on the road now, right?
Yeah, we've got 2 weeks until we head out on the road for 6 weeks, and then like leading into an album release, Longtime Honey, on May 17th. It will be out everywhere, and we've just released the pre-sale of that also, which is exciting because we can start to recoup our recording spend, which is quite a big aspect of the career. And then a busy summer where we'll be kind of all over the place. I know we're also heading to Folk Alliance International in Kansas City on the 21st. So in a few days we'll be hitting the skies uh to just see what's going on there
Is
and
that
meet
your
some friends.
first?
And
Is that your
the
first time
first,
there?
yes. We've heard so much about it, and this is the first time we just finally like let's book tickets. Let's go. It's going to be great for networking, great for the festival, and being able to. I think I think if anything, the music industry is the more time you put into it, the more you get out of it. And whether it's just showing up, like if you're showing up to your gig, if it's showing up to the small gig, showing up to the conference, showing up every Tuesday to do your 20 minute 2 song Tuesdays. The more you show up, the more the industry will show up for you. And so
Yeah.
we've found that inescapably, like the always the time where we feel, um, oh, maybe we don't need to do that gig or do this thing or do this thing. Those are the ones that are the most important. And so show up for the industry, it'll show up for you.
There's a West Coast one. It's called Far West Folk Alliance. It
Yeah, I've
happens
heard.
in October,
Hmm.
and it moves around. This year it's actually here, but I think next year it may be closer to you.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
and it's smaller. It's in a hotel, and
Hmm.
then you can actually set up your own showcase rooms at night.
Oh, very fun.
So
Very
it's
fun.
very fun to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just
And
for
closer to us too, which I do
yeah.
like.
But we were
Yeah.
at a we were at we were at a session. There were house concert people talking about their concert and stuff. And then Freebo turned. He was in front of me. He says, "Do you know these people?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "I'm going to introduce you."
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So sometimes you only need one as a jump off point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. It
And
helps a
also
lot.
too, I don't know if they do it, but do they talk about doing showcases at night?
I believe so. I think we're going to be a part of a few showcases that are 12, like midnight or 1
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah. It's
around
it's
the
10
hotel.
to 2
So,
o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
mhm. Yep. Yeah, I had to double check with Sarah on that. I was like, is this an AM? Like, which day is this? So I
Yeah.
think it's not going to be a lot of sleep, but there'll be a lot of music. So
That
love that.
those evening things,
Mhm.
they're talk about well attended. It's like a constant party.
Oh yeah.
And they have the showcases in the showcase room, like for that you apply for stuff like that.
Hmm.
But you'll get a lot of activity, people seeing it. You can just play as much as you want so people see you.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds great. We're here
you
for it.
you guys would be great for that,
Hmm.
and I think they'll really like you with the stuff that you do and stuff. But sometimes it's good to know a couple people that people that are doing that too. They can introduce you and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. It's
But
good to
it's
have the intro.
mostly it's the folk festival people and it's house concert people.
Yeah, that's our target audience right there. Love that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're going because I was going to mention that
Yeah,
too.
us too. Us
So
too.
yeah, and like I said, this year that one is here in Woodland Hills, but then I'm pretty sure it's back up towards you next year.
I'm fine. Well, maybe we'll see you in October in Woodland Hills then.
Yeah, yeah. If
I
you're
might have
not
to make a trip down.
doing something else, you would tour down.
Yeah, we'll tour down. Yeah, might as well get the gas mileage. Yeah, let's tour down.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Okay. So, any last minute advice for people who are just starting to book their own tours?
Yeah, be indomitable. Don't give up. That's the big thing. Just keep working at it. The more you show up, the more the industry will show up for you. And know that most people on the artist and the booking side are quite friendly in this industry. I think it attracts a certain kind of people to it. And so don't hesitate to make friends in the industry and don't give up.
Yeah. Great.
Hmm.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you guys have been really busy, and I want to connect up with you guys anyway because I still check.
Yeah,
Wow, I see your posts, stuff like that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you
Well, it's
guys.
great talking with you, Chris, and we'll see you in October.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
All right, have a good one.
All right. Bye. What a great interview with Scott from Fox and Bones. If you guys want to listen to them, it's foxandbones.com, Fox A-N-D Bones, BONES.com. They're they're great musicians, they're good people, and they're doing so well. They've been doing this grind for 10 years. Now they have a helping booking agent, and they have a new producer that's working with them. So it's a matter of putting the time in, especially if you want to perform a lot on the road, but there's a lot of business that has to do with that. So they are a great model. Take a look at what they're doing on their social medias and how much music they have out and those kind of things. You can really learn from them.